Okay, so we're in week 4. So once you complete week 4, you will have completed half of the class. And week 4 is all about sequences and series. And this is the notation that you learned this week you will need when you go on to calculus. So, of course, I had to find a meme. So this will make more sense once you actually start learning them. So I'm going to just, go through the material, what you have to do, your discussion assignment, self-assessment, and the suggested schedule. And that actually should say self-assessment and midterm because we have both. So actually, let me write that in. Okay. And my dog is happy that I'm not with her. I don't know if you can hear her through the mic. So we're only going through 3 sections. 9.1, which is sequences and series. 9.2 is arithmetic sequences and partial sums. And then 9.3 is geometric sequences and series. And I will be doing a live session at 2 p.m. on Friday on 9.1, which is sequences and series, so to get you started. Okay. Yeah, so we've got the week 4 discussion. I for some reason I'm like, did I already have the slide? I didn't. The week 4 self-assessment, your application assignment, your journal, and a midterm. So yes, you have a self-assessment and a midterm, but they are not covering the same material. So you do have an out task this week. So starting with your discussion, this is a math-based discussion prompt. So you're actually going to have to work out some math and show the work. And Brianna, I will answer your question when we get to the midterm. So I'm going to just read the discussion prompt out loud. Consider the following problem. Mike and Tim are looking to earn a little extra money. Each committee offers them the opportunity of, it's supposed to say of, I have typos. The opportunity of picking up plastic bottles, paying them 20 cents per bottle. Mike realizes as they pick it up, it will get harder to find more bottles. So as an incentive to keep looking, he suggests a different form of payment. He suggests 10 cents for the first bottle and increase the pay by 2% for each bottle after that. Tim thinks Mike is crazy to propose an increase of just 2% per piece. He plans to ask for a 1 cent increase for every piece, starting at 15 cents for the first bottle. So suppose the committee accepts each offer. So they say yes to both of them. So what you have to do for your post is first, for each of them, write the first 5 terms of the sequence. Then you have to write a function to generate the nth sequence values, like the 10th value or the 11th value, basically how much they would get paid for the 10th bottle or the 11th bottle, and then explain how you came up with them. Then you use the formula to find out how much they would get paid for the 50th bottle and the 100th bottle. And then you need to determine the type of sequences. Your choices are arithmetic or geometric. And then in the end, who do you think fares better in the long term? Explain. So who will end up making the most money? So it's the part that, people can write these equations slightly different, but you should get the same answers. But the last question is really the difference because it's all about how you interpret it and how you look at it. So you're applying basically everything from this week to this discussion, and then you're working through the math behind it. So moving on to the assignments. Your week 4 assignment this week is 5 graded problems. And you can resubmit. Make sure you're showing all work and you're writing your reflection journal as you go through it. So some specific things for the week 4 assignment. So make sure you're answering all of the questions. That's a common theme is people forgetting to do that. Make sure for word problems, your answers are in context and complete sentences. So don't just give me a number. Tell me what it means. Make sure you are explaining your work. You're telling me where your numbers come from, because for the assignment this week, there are a lot of different ways to get to the same answer. And so if you don't do the method that I do, I may not know what your thinking is. So you need to explain what your setup is, what your numbers mean. Don't just give me the math, because I need to also understand how you came up with it. So you need to explain everything, basically. You know, label this number means this, that sort of thing. For question 2 specifically, you make sure you understand the difference between a term of a sequence and the sum of a sequence. For question 3A, you don't need to use a sequence for that. You need to make a table first. You'll use the sequence for parts 3B. And then for question 5, this is one about a bouncing ball, and you're finding the distance, and you need to consider the fact that a ball goes both up and down, so it's covering an up distance and a down distance. So those are just some things to look out for when you're working through the assignment. And then as a reminder for your application assignment, that if you're giving me multiple files, I will ask you to resubmit. Make sure everything's in order, easy to read. If I can't read it, I will ask you to resubmit. So make sure everything is very easy to follow. For the reflection journal, I saw really good reflection journals for week 3. So I think you guys have gotten the hang of what you're supposed to do. Talk about each problem. So that's excellent. That helps me, because it also helps me understand when I'm grading your assignment what your thinking was, because sometimes I can't quite understand, like, where did this come from. So if you put it in your reflection journal, that helps me understand. So remember that there are some prompts, and that you are reflecting about your thinking. And that's going to be really important this week, because as I said, there are multiple ways to do some of these problems. So it's really important to explain your thinking for each problem for this week. Okay, for the self-assessment and midterm. So you still have a self-assessment this week, even though you're also having a midterm. The self-assessment is 12 questions, and it's covering week 4. The midterm is 15 questions, and it's covering weeks 1 through 3. So that's why you also have the self-assessment, because the midterm is not covering the stuff you're learning this week. What's different about the midterm is that your questions are shown one at a time. So you're not going to see the whole thing like you have for the self-assessments. That doesn't mean that you can't backtrack. You can backtrack. It's just not going to be all on one page. And yes, the midterm is still open notes, open book. So you use all your resources. It's not timed. So take your time to make sure that you can solve everything, because you don't have any time pressure or anything on you for this midterm. So it's like the self-assessment, except that it's slightly longer and you only have 1 attempt instead of 4. But other than that, it's pretty much the same sort of thing. So that will make things easier for you. Now, you guys are lucky, because in the future, when we revise this class, it will be going to timed exams. So you guys are lucky that you are taking it now before it gets revised. So count your blessings. So lastly, for the suggested schedule. So your discussion, you really need to get through all 3 sections of the reading before you can work on the discussion. You can do parts of it. You can try to work it out logically, but you'll have your best success if you go through all parts of the reading. And then what I did is I split the other readings into 2 separate days. And then, of course, you've got the links to the videos and the additional videos here. And I have picked out selected practice problems from the review to help you out. There's about 10 questions in the first 2, and then there's about 15 in the third one. So if you're doing 10 questions a day for practice, that's not too bad, and that will help you see where you're at as far as the knowledge. And then for the assignment, the application assignment, problem 1 can be done after you do 9.1, problem 2 goes to 9.2, and then the rest of them you need to do after you go through 9.3. And then I recommend, because that midterm is untimed, you can do it whenever, but I just always schedule it that you spend like a day and you're like, this is going to be my focus. But you can study for the midterm by doing more practice problems, but because it's not timed or anything, just make sure you have your notes in your book and, spend the time that you need on it. So, oops, I accidentally ended my slideshow too soon. So that was all that I had. The next is going to be the question slide anyway. So are there any questions on anything that is upcoming, what you have to do for the discussion, the midterm, anything like that? Okay, so it says you're typing, but I think you're really not typing. I think it's lying to me. Sometimes it does that. It tells me someone's typing and they're not. Cool. So if you have any questions, definitely ask me. And then if you can, at 2 p.m. on Friday, I'll be doing the 9.1 sequences and series. And then I do have notes, actually. I'll just share my screen again and I can bring up the classroom and show you. I do have other videos. I think I have other videos. I hope I have other. I remember having. Let me see. What I make so many videos. I can't even remember all of my videos. Do I have any other videos for week 4? No, that's just my old introduction. So this will be the only video that I have for week 4. Usually week 4 is not too bad for people, but you'll have 9.1 once I film that on Friday, and then I'll add that to this area. So, all right, so that is it. So thank you for joining. I'm gonna go check on my dog. She seems to have quieted down, so maybe she found her bed. We'll see. But thank you very much. If you are somewhere where the weather is bad, stay safe. We are supposed to get, that's actually, I see snow on the leaves right now. So it's snowing right here in Kansas City, and we're supposed to they didn't pre-treat the roads or anything. So I imagine because it was raining earlier, the roads are going to be slick. So we're supposed to get like 3 inches. So we'll see how that goes. So if you are living somewhere with bad weather, or in California with all those wildfires, I know there was a tropical storm in Louisiana or that area. So it's like there's a lot of stuff going on. So heat wave of 21 degrees. Oh man. So yeah, I just hope that everybody stays safe right now and stays warm. That's really important. So all right. I guess I'll sign off. Really stop the recording.